Hi, my name is Dr. Anthony Basil, and this is a short video which will explore diagrams to explain research projects. If you have any questions, please do feel free to email me at abasil@gmail.com. So our first diagram is how to write your research paper as a story. What we want you to try to think about is note, even if you have preset headings and chapters for your research report, to try to think of it more as a narrative. I often use a kind of murder mystery as a metaphor. And here you can see you'd have the introduction, which would be the opener. That might be where the murder is happened, and we've got the victim. Then the next stage, we're looking at the problem. Well, the problem in the murder mystery is, well, who did it? Who was the murderer? Next, we go into identifying the hero, the methodology. How are we going to collect the evidence to identify the murderer? Well, the hero would be the detective or the police officer who is going to gather the various forensic evidence and identify the weapons and the motive in the murder mystery. Then we have the climax, where we're about to find the connection between the evidence and that is enough to prove the murder. And then we get the final resolution where we discuss the facts and have our final conclusion, the ending, the denouement, where we have the um, private eye tell everyone who is the murderer. So we know that the butler did it. Now, when I'm working with students, there's usually several stages that we're working on for our research projects. The first one tends to be to write a proposal. Now, when you're writing a proposal, you're going to be talking about the future, what you will be doing. So when you're writing that type of a resource, it's fine to say, for this project, I will be doing X, or we will be designing Y. That is appropriate because you haven't actually done the project yet. But take a look through this sample here, because each of the stages of your report will be talking about what you have already done. You're reporting on what has already been accomplished. So in this case, the verb should be in present or past tense. One of the sections of a report or your research, even if you're doing it as a commercial research, is going to be the abstract, or if it's in business, you might call it the executive summary. So here's a section that goes through and highlights some of the main areas of this. It's the taster. It's the film trailer that gets you interested to take a look at the rest of the document. So this is really worthwhile to make sure that you've covered in the beginning the objectives, then discuss how you go about collecting your data, the methodology, and then your conclusions. Now, in this slide, you can see we've got primary data and we've got secondary data. Now, secondary data is, of course, going to be your desk research, your literature review, looking at various websites and surveying software. Um, this can also be seen as commercial research, where you are doing a comparison between your product or website and the competition to see what the competitors are doing. So desk research is very important because it's going to establish the state of the art. It will show what the current system is looking like. Now, the second part is the primary research. In primary research, what we want to do is we want to get live data. So this is where you're actually conducting your project. So, for example, perhaps in your literature review, you've examined and critically analyzed several articles which, for your topic, suggest that you should do A, B, and C. Well, you can take a look at your primary research approach and decide, oh, well, I'm going to get some data from real people to see if they agree with A, B, and C. And so in this way, you're going to be able to cross-check your primary data with your secondary data. And this helps to validate your conclusions. So in our last slide, you can see how to write a qualitative paper. So in this section, we've got the title of the paper, all right, which needs to have a very specific terminology. We want to make sure that you're using the keywords for your subject area. The introduction, these are some tips here. Make sure you've got your SMART objectives included in there. The methods and methodology, how you're going to go about getting that qualitative data, and then methods, what tools are you going to use? And then we're going to take that data, the findings, analyze it, break it down. You might need to identify themes, so it might be a thematic analysis. You might need to do some coding. How are you going to group that data? How are you going to bring it together? Do you have a theory first, which is a deduction? And then from that theory, you're going to pull out the various terms, or are you going to go into the transcript, for example, and have an informal analysis, informal review of it where you don't have a specific term in place, but you establish from the transcript what the emerging themes are? So these are some ways that you can take a look at it to build your discussion and then the other elements as well. I hope this is helpful. Please do email us with any questions, and we're happy to respond. Bye now.